My name is Doss Williams. I am representing Kamala Harris, the Vice President, in this post-debate show. And I feel like voters really are ready to move on from a tumultuous past, 4 years, 8 years, and one in which we've seen a lot of division. We know Donald Trump. We know that during his time as president, he increased division in this country. Hate is on the rise. He's only one factor on why that is true, but he has not improved the situation. And his division led to culminated in an insurrection on the federal Capitol building. And I think people are ready to move on from that. I think Kamala Harris is a good person to help us move on, offering new leadership. I've seen her work firsthand in the Capitol when I represented you in the state legislature. She's smart. She has poise, integrity. She was a good attorney general. And she was there for some of the right reasons. She grew up going to civil rights marches and became a prosecutor to make sure she stands up for normal people against people that would abuse them. I think that's a kind of set of skills and maybe more than that, a set of character that we need or that a lot of people are looking for to lead us out of a tumultuous times in this country.
So I'm here today advocating on behalf of President Donald J. Trump. I think most Americans would agree that life was better here in America during the Trump administration than it has been under the last 3.5 years of the Harris-Biden administration. I think Harris would like to distance herself from the fact that she's been an integral part of the Biden administration. But the fact is she, on 33 occasions, has broken tie votes in the Senate to push forward the failed Biden agenda. And life was so much better when Trump was president. The cost of living was much, much lower, mostly because of the energy policies and tax policies that Trump had advocated during his administration. We were safer as a nation. We had a more secure border. Under the Biden-Harris administration, we've had, who knows, 15, 20 million illegal people coming into our borders, many of whom have caused problems here. Here in Carpinteria, we've been fortunate so far, but imagine if we started having an influx of illegal aliens like they've had recently in Springfield, Ohio, taking over our town. We wouldn't want that. We've worked so hard here in Carpinteria to have a safe small town, and Biden and Harris have put that at risk, like so many small towns in America have experienced. That's part of the cost of living increase, because we're competing with those folks for food and housing, and of course those folks are looking for a better life, but we as Americans should not have to suffer. Our government should not be doing more for them than for our own citizens. We are, under the Biden-Harris administration, in a much more dangerous situation around the world because foreign governments like the Russians, the Iranians, they feel emboldened when they have weakness in the Oval Office. And Kamala Harris was part of that failed withdrawal in Afghanistan, where we lost, tragically, 13 American lives that didn't have to be lost. She personally has very little leadership experience. We don't really know where she stands on issues. She's flip-flopped back and forth. On the one hand, she was an extremely progressive prosecutor in California, an extremely progressive U.S. senator. But now she's telling us that she actually supports Donald Trump's policies. Donald Trump's the one who proposed cutting taxes on tips. Donald Trump, we know where he stands. Kamala Harris, we don't really know where she stands. We don't think she can be trusted because we don't know what she's going to do if she ever becomes president. And God help us if she does.
Okay, now you have 10 minutes to engage in a general conversation. One of you try not to
I mean, I hear your point that most people know what Donald Trump has to offer more than they know Kamala Harris. But I can tell you, first of all, I've worked with her. I've seen her work. She was a good attorney general, prosecuted bad guys as attorney general in the state of California, and I think was sometimes thought of as too law and order for some areas of California, I suppose.
Because she prosecuted poor black men for smoking marijuana, and she joked about it, that she'd used it herself.
Greg, I think the fact that we know Donald Trump is really the hinge point of any argument. You accuse Harris of being weak on foreign policy, and yet the former generals that have criticized Donald Trump, the current generals that have criticized Donald Trump, all the foreign policy experts in my Democratic Party and in your Republican Party that have said that Donald Trump has made the world more dangerous, the fact that he has coddled dictators and strongmen, and the fact that just about any foreign leader can get what they want from Donald Trump just by lambasting him with gifts and ill-deserved praise. This is well documented. It's talked about in multiple books, multiple accounts of people from within the Trump administration of what a disaster that he has been on foreign policy. It is a darkening world, as you and I both agree on, but Donald Trump has helped it get darker and more dangerous.
Okay.
I think Ukraine is a perfect example of the strength of the administration, the strength of the response. I have never seen a stronger and more rapid response to a foreign policy crisis than we have seen in that. So I think Ukraine is a good example of this administration, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, standing up for the values that we have as democratic, freedom-loving people.
If I could just take a turn to talk. So a lot of the things that you've just said are just actually false. And I'm glad you brought up Ukraine, because Ukraine's a good example. So what's interesting now is you have people like Dick Cheney, who even a lot of Republicans have disliked for being a warmonger, have now teamed up in support of Kamala Harris. So why do you have those types of people working now with Kamala Harris? The problem that we have in this country now, really, I mean, one of the biggest threats to our country is the fact that so much of our government has been taken over by corruption. You have not only the military-industrial complex that we were warned about for decades, but now you have a medical-industrial complex, and you have collusion with big tech, big media, who all have a lot of money in this. And they're lined up on the side of Kamala Harris. They're not lined up on the side of the average person. So
you mean big tech like the founder of X?
Well, fortunately, he. Excuse me. I think. So Elon Musk actually has lined up on the side of the little person. He's the one who is empowering anybody, anywhere, to be able to speak, to exercise their First Amendment rights at no charge. I have a Twitter account. I don't pay a penny for it, and I can say anything I want about anything. I'm not banned. I'm not shadow banned. Unlike YouTube, where I personally have been censored. Josh Molina did a video with me where I shared some personal experiences that were taken down within 3 days because I dared to question things.
Well, I'm not speak of your really, personal videos, Greg.
To me, well,
but if
you can watch them
if Mr. Trump has the corner on the conspiracy theory vote, including Elon Musk,
this is
that's
not a conspiracy.
Okay.
This is the most fundamental issue facing our civilization
you are questioning
right
the
now.
integrity of all the Republicans, all the people in your own party, who, by the way, I believe you supported, and you're questioning their integrity because they're willing to put the nation's interest over party. Because I mean, what? You see a litany of Republicans stepping forward and saying, this man, Donald Trump, is so dangerous, and that we trust at least the motivations and integrity and poise of Kamala Harris that we're going to endorse a Democrat for president. That's a very big step, and it should not be, maligned just because it's outside of your immediate self-interest.
Let's try to rise above the personalities here and talk a little bit about like the bigger issues at stake, because I really see like what this is at stake in this election is the fundamental existence of our republic. You know, the Democrats like to talk a lot about democracy, and how they're trying to save democracy with Kamala Harris, who didn't get one single electoral vote. She was not in the primary. She's been coronated, right? So there's no democracy there. And you have a number of very well-known Democrats, including Gavin Newsom, who've poked fun at that, and RFK Jr., who's left the Democrat Party because it was so undemocratic. But really what the issue here is when you look at our republic, and Benjamin Franklin was asked, what have you created here? And he said, we've given you a republic if you can keep it. So what that means in America is that the individual is sovereign. We don't have a king. The president's not the king. We as individuals are sovereign. We have inalienable rights given to us by our creator. And right now, all of those rights are at stake. And the most fundamental one is the First Amendment. Our ability to speak, to question, that is under attack. Kamala Harris is part of a team of people who are basically orchestrating a coup in terms of the information that we are allowed to have to make an informed decision about how our democracy is going to progress. There is a collusion between the big tech, the big media, the big pharma, the big military, all who have money at stake here to prevent the average person in our republic from being able to participate in a meaningful way in the discussion of what our government is doing, has done, will do going forward. That's what's at stake here. And the entire Democrat convention was a complete Disney. It was a Disney production. And that debate last night was a Disney production. Where Kamala Harris was given all the questions in advance. The entire thing was
If Mr. Trump had done well, you would be singing a different tune.
I thought it was just fun. I didn't get to watch it live, but I listened to the recording on the way driving to work this morning, and I thought he was
unhinged.
I thought he made a lot of very good points.
Oh, come on. Accusing immigrants of eating pets, I mean, it just really defies.
I've watched citizens in Springfield, Ohio, talk about their personal experiences, testifying to their city council. I've seen that testimony.
It's truly unhinged. I mean, the fact is that she conducted herself as a presidential candidate should, and he has consistently not. And I agree with you that the survival of our democratic Republican form of government is very much at stake in this time.
Okay, we agree on that. We agree on that.
It is under
threat, a republic,
both domestically and abroad. But there is nothing that is more erosive to our system of government than to have someone with a cult of personality like Mr. Trump. That's not based on any ideology. He's not a conservative. He's not pro-conservative. He's not pro-liberal. He's pro-power. It's transparent, as he also waffles on any policies that he chooses to. Maybe less based on political expediency than his own whim.
I think when we hear Donald Trump talk, I think we hear it coming from the heart or from the gut. He's not somebody who holds his finger up in the wind and consults all of his political consultants and goes from progressive to MAGA. Like, Kamala Harris, he offered her a MAGA hat because she was promoting so many of his policies. But no, we know where Donald Trump stands. And he is very quick to just tell you what he thinks without first thinking about what he should say. He just tells you what he thinks. God bless Donald Trump for at least being honest with us.
I think that...
Because Kamala Harris is not genuine.
When anger is the first emotion, then I don't think it's good for leaders to just exhibit anger and hate. And that's what he's magnifying and perpetuating. And
well, Donald
and
Trump
contrary to making us
is advocating for the man on the
safe.
street. He's advocating for the little guy. He's advocating for the union
he's
member.
done
You know,
little
he's
to
doing so
nothing
much better
for the little
with
guy.
black voters and Latino voters than Biden and Harris ever have. And the reason he is because they know
that's
they
preposterous,
know
Greg.
that the
And
economy was so much better under Trump.
You will see you can see it in the polling numbers. You can see it in the election returns.
Well, the polling numbers I just saw is that Georgia and Pennsylvania just flipped red. Donald Trump is ahead in the Electoral College. Look at Real Clear Politics electoral map, and you'll see that Donald Trump is winning.
Trump is not going to outpace Kamala Harris with black voters. That's preposterous. I mean, that's
a hard stop there, Doss.
Okay.
I just got to say, you guys, that was unbelievable. That was perfect.
Good made for TV moment.
Because we're having a conversation about it, but having differences of opinion. And I thought the exchange was great.
I'm not shocked,
We're
but it
gonna
was a good
focus in
exchange.
On a specific question now, and just do the same kind of thing. What comes to mind, and basically the question is, like almost like you were just talking about, the country has never been so divided. What can your candidate help to do to solve that problem? I think we all agree that's one of the key problems right now in the country.
I think what is most important to solving the level of division in this country is to have a big tent. And I think right now the Kamala Harris campaign has a big tent. I can see that in both the policies that she's putting forward and the people who are supporting her. Prominent Republicans stepping forward to put the country above their party affiliation and supporting her. And I believe that whether or not you believe that she's always been a uniter or not, she is stepping forward into the role of a uniter in a time that we desperately need a uniter. And I think most important of all is someone who will respect the will of the voters. If Kamala Harris loses the election, she is going to respect the will of the voters. I don't think you can say the same thing about Donald Trump. I think no matter what, if Donald Trump loses the election, he will cry foul and attempt to circumvent the will of the voters, because he fundamentally cannot believe that the voters will ever choose otherwise. And as someone who has won 10 elections and lost one, I can tell you, people can lose, people can win, but the most important thing in a democracy is to respect the will of the voters and not try to tear down our democratic institutions because they don't suit you.
So as far as building unity, and it's interesting that the word unity, because RFK Jr. actually is calling the Trump ticket the unity ticket. And it's interesting because you have a lifelong Democrat who has chosen to support wholeheartedly Donald J. Trump for president. Really what we need to do to bring this country together is we need to look at our Constitution, look at the rights that our Constitution doesn't give people. Our rights don't come from the Constitution. They're guaranteed by the Constitution.
I agree with
you. So
you.
I think we need to make sure that we are always making sure that our citizens are guaranteed their rights. And again, the fundamental First Amendment right is free speech, to question our government, to get the information, to have civil discussion. I'm so glad that we're having a civil discussion today and that people are tuned in and are interested in the future of our government. As far as the election goes, I think Donald Trump actually was correct to question the results, and I continue to question the results of the last election because COVID was used as an excuse to change a lot of rules, to send out mail ballots, to phantom voters. There are a lot of people who are registered more than once. They're registered in multiple counties because they've moved out of state. They're registered in multiple
Greg,
states. Excuse me, I let you talk, Doss.
I've let you talk for a long time.
No.
And you know, it's just so
This is supposed to
irresponsible.
be
I
equal
can't
time.
tell you how irresponsible this is.
So I actually am on the
you-
election integrity committee of the California Republican Party, so this is something I've researched. If you could just let me finish, then you can have
then you might
accountability.
remember
But you're not
that the
letting me.
California Republican Party has for decades, until Donald Trump, advocated for the expansion of mail-in ballots.
Okay,
And-
you didn't let me finish.
And-
I don't
and so
think that's respectful to us.
you have changed the position only because of this strange conspiracy theory, and you are essentially apologizing for people who used violent insurrection as a means to then circumvent the will of the voters. And nothing can be more unconstitutional than to try to usurp the democratic result of the election.
Can I finish the point I was going to make? Because you didn't let me make my
Sure,
point.
you
let
can
me
go
make
on with your conspiracy theories, I suppose, if that's what
you can name call if you want, but I'm trying to have a civil discussion. So there were ballots mailed out to ineligible voters. The voter rolls are messy, to say the least, and there have been a number of court orders ordering registrars to clean up their voter rolls. Those ballots were mailed out to ineligible people. Also, there are a number of people registered to vote that are not eligible. They're not here legally in this country. Unfortunately, the Democrats have encouraged systems that encourage illegal people to register to vote, and there are people who harvest, in some cases legally. In California, it's legal. It shouldn't be illegal, but it is legal in California. In other states, it's not legal, but they do it anyway. I think in some places, like Atlanta and Milwaukee and Philadelphia, I think there were a lot of shenanigans that went on. And I think also there was a concerted effort by big media to take the Hunter Biden laptop story, which was a legitimate story. They got current and former national intelligence people, CIA people, to lie and say it was Russian disinformation when it was not. Hunter Biden just pled guilty to the offenses that were obviously connected with the information that was on the laptop.
I guess the next thing we're going to talk about
that election was not a fair election. Now, I'm not happy about what went on January 6th, and there are a lot of questions in terms of who actually instigated what went on January 6th. I thought it was all horrible. The whole thing was horrible, and I hope that never happens again. It's really important that we do everything we can to have fair elections. So I, for example, support having a photo ID. The Democrats are against having a photo ID to vote. You got to have one to buy liquor, to get on an airplane. For a lot of things in life, you got to show photo ID. Why are you against having photo ID to vote? To me, that would make a more secure election, and we can all be confident.
I've worked in elections where Republican registrar voters have denied the ability of 80-year-old Lakota women in South Dakota to be able to vote because they didn't bring an ID. Are you kidding me? They made them drive 150 miles. So if you talk about election shenanigans, I've seen plenty of them. Mainly the ones I've seen have been concentrating on Republicans suppressing the vote in an attempt to make sure that the poorest of our fellow Americans are disenfranchised.
So do you think like Lakota women don't know how to have photo ID? Are you saying Lakota women aren't smart enough to have photo ID?
In many states,
I think Lakota women are smart enough to have photo ID. I don't know why
I've seen them denied the right to vote for not bringing IDs when there is no ID requirement, or at least there was not back then under South Dakota law. So yes, I have seen people that
our laws need to be equal. Everyone should be treated equally.
The very last Americans that should be their right to vote be taken away has been denied them contrary to election law.
All Americans
Greg,
should be allowed to vote.
I let you go on your conspiracy theory rant for
I don't know why
at least
I don't know why
5
you
minutes.
insist on the name calling.
I just think that it is the height of irresponsibility to take the logistical weakness, and I've seen this in other states, particularly, of where voter rolls are not necessarily there's people that move and they don't live there anymore and they're still on the rolls. Yes, that happens all the time. Nobody in the Democratic Party likes the fact that you have to call those people because it's a waste of time. when you call people who no longer live there.
But you're
right?
happy to go and harvest their ballot, even though they don't
it's
live
just
there anymore, right?
ridiculous.
You're happy to go
There
pick up
has
the
not
ballot
been
for the person who doesn't live there.
There has not been any organized attempt to do that. I've seen people make, dumb things.
So Doss, I have
I've seen
a
information
list of 16,000 people who voted twice. Okay?
I just think that
I have a list.
that what you're doing right now is tearing down people's confidence in our democratic institutions, which will only lead to one thing.
I ran a report of people who were registered twice and voted twice.
Then
I have the list, and I've shared it with the elections office. I've shared it. So don't tell me it doesn't. Don't call names and tell me it's a conspiracy theory when I actually have the data.
Well,
and I'd be happy to give it to you.
I hope
you and I can look at it together. Why don't we look at it together?
Conservatives
Would you agree to look at it together, or do you want to just call names?
I hope that conservatives and liberals that both want to uphold this republic's institutions will unite in November and vote for Kamala Harris, because it's really the only person with the character in this race to be president.
Okay, we are at about the half hour, and that's what we invited you to do. If you'd like to go on, I have a few more questions, or you could do like your 1 minute answer.
I think this is kind of disintegrating.
It's just,
Okay, I got you, but it was really a lot of it was just.
I mean, at this point, I don't know what the purpose of doing this is. Besides,
we could talk about individual issues.
in the name of free speech to highlight wingnuts.
Let me throw out a question, and if you want to answer it, or you can go to the 1 minute, just kind of wrap up. And I was going to ask, the number one issue in Carpinteria is the cost of living. How might the election affect what happens here? How can we bring down the cost for first-time home buyers? Besides the election, I'm trying to bring in questions about small-town America.
Absolutely.
So does that ring a bell? Can you?
Absolutely. Kamala Harris.
Wait.
I just said that an important plank of Kamala Harris's campaign is to make homeownership more accessible for Americans. And I think that is vitally important for places like Carpinteria, where homeownership has come out of the reach for too many people. We can see it all around us as neighbors, people we know on our street, people we know in town are forced out of this community. I think the primary mover behind cost of living is cost of housing in this community.
Greg, you got a thought?
Yeah, so Doss, you got it exactly wrong. So the main driver of the cost of all this inflation is, first of all, energy policy. So when Donald Trump was president, we had plentiful energy, and it was at a much better price than it is today. I mean, energy probably double the price across the country than it was during most of the Trump administration. And energy is a component of everything else in life, whether it's food, housing, transportation. Everything has a big energy component in it. You got to grow it, make it, transport it, refrigerate it. You need energy for everything. Also, with the housing policy, our housing costs. Can I finish? Can I finish? I gave you a chance to talk.
I gave you a chance.
With housing policy, California is one of the most expensive places to build anything. So, unfortunately, what Kamala Harris and the rest of the Democrats did in California, we don't want that across the United States, because those policies have not worked. Those policies of overregulation have made housing so much more expensive.
I'll take on the energy one first.
Yeah.
As someone who has procured multiple renewable projects for the community of Carpinteria as a member of Central Coast Community Energy, look, the way that if you look at energy bills in places like California versus other states, despite the fact that energy is more expensive here, our bills are lower. Why? Because the strategy in California is efficiency. People use less kilowatts per capita than people of comparable incomes in other
Well,
states.
the weather's a lot better
And,
here, Doss. When you have
well,
mild weather, not too hot, not too cold.
Not in Kern County.
You don't need,
it's not.
well, along here,
And
we
stop
don't use much.
interrupting me if you don't want me to interrupt you.
We don't use much electricity here in carpentry, and I've got
and
solar
energy-
panels on my
energy
roof.
is a-
I have
is-
solar panels on
Energy
my
is
roof.
is a part of
You have solar panels
inflationary
on your
costs.
roof?
I do have solar panels on my roof.
Good.
And frankly, inflation has been better for me because I bought an electric car, and I spend a lot of time trying to make sure that electric cars are accessible for all people, all local people, and it's important. Energy is an issue, but a diverse strategy towards energy, which Kamala Harris is embracing, is a really important way to move into the future. Solar is starting to pay off in the state of California. We now have, most of the year where 80 to 100% of the grid for about 6 or 8 hours is 100%, 80 to 100 for about 6 hours a day is carbon free. We've even started exporting to other states and putting those into batteries. And we're making a clean energy future here, and one in which the ongoing cost is less, and that's going to be good for California. And with Kamala Harris, alternative energy can be good for the nation.
Well, Trump has what I would call an all-of-the-above energy policy, where he wants to embrace the solar, the wind, but also the fossil fuels as well. It's an all of the above. It's not all or nothing. And one of the things that Biden did, I think it was on first day in office, is he stopped the Keystone Pipeline. So that reduction in supply and all the other things that the Biden-Harris administration have done to restrict the supply of energy, that's what's made energy more expensive. I use solar at my house. We generate 100%
if it was
of our
because of the
electricity.
Biden, if it was because of the
you
Biden,
can't use solar at night.
If it was
and you
because
can't
of the,
use wind when the wind's not blowing.
If it was because
So
of the
to have
Biden-Harris
reliable
administration,
power, to have
then
reliable
energy
power,
wouldn't have gone up all across the world.
To have reliable
energy
power,
prices
you need
went up
all of the
across
above.
the world.
All of the
Greg.
above. I'm not against wind or solar,
and so if
but
it
you've
was
got
the
to
Biden,
be realistic.
If it was the Biden policies that did it, it wouldn't have gone up all across the world. And guess what? It went up all across the world, and it went up all across the world because of a war. That's where energy
that
prices spiked.
That Biden helped to start.
Putin invading Ukraine?
Biden's weakness.
Biden's starting?
Weakness. Biden projects
ridiculous.
weakness on the world stage.
Ridiculous.
Weakness.
Ridiculous.
Trump projects strength.
One more end note. I don't know if you need an ending statement, but what do you find inspiring about your... Is this an ending statement? I don't know if you want an ending statement or should we... How do you both feel?
Sure.
You want a 1 minute? Well, then let me see if you can answer this one. What do you find inspiring about your candidate? And then we'll do the 1 minute end statement.
Well, I find it inspiring as my family is part immigrant. My family is an immigrant family.
Mine too.
That has came to the Ojai Valley and to Santa Barbara, and my wife's family is a Native American family that's been here for a long, long, long time. And both of us find it inspiring that someone like Kamala Harris can grow up, in an apartment in the East Bay, and rise in this society to a point where she is able to help people as a public policy figure, as Attorney General of the largest state of the Union, and then as Vice President. Kamala Harris is inspirational to my daughters, somebody that they can identify with and see bringing the country together, helping us move beyond, a very divisive time. And I believe that the case for Kamala Harris is enhanced not only by Democrats that are supporting her, but by the many Republicans that are supporting her, the many people that were in Trump's administration and saw how divisive he truly was and what a danger he is to this democracy.
So, my family is also an immigrant family. I am married to a man who's a person of color and is also 1/4 Native South American. So we have something in common there. But you know, for us, it's not about the color of someone's skin. It's not about checking some diversity box, you know, being the first this or the first that. It's really, for us, it's about America. It's about the future of our country. It's about saving our republic from this horrible corruption that's going on, the collusion between people in government that are supposed to be protecting our rights, that have actually partnered with big tech, big media, big pharma, big military, that are just squeezing the blood out of the average American worker. And we're inspired by the fact that Trump is going to fight, continue to fight. He fought for us as president. Life was better in America when Trump was president. People know that. People know that the economy was much better. We were much safer. We had less crime. We had a more secure border. We had more respect on the world stage when Trump was president. People know that. So, you know, we're voting to save our republic, and we're basically voting for a team of people. Donald Trump surrounds himself with a team of people that feel the way we do, that we want to make America great again. America was better when Trump was president, and will be better again when he's president again. Kamala Harris flip-flops on her policies. We don't know what she stands for. We don't know what she's going to do. The people that she works with that have orchestrated this entire facade that, you know, of joy, that's her campaign message, it's joy. It's like, it's completely vacuous. People see through it. People should vote for Donald Trump because he's going to do what's best for America.
Do you have any closing or?
That was the closing. I thought.
Thank you, Doss.
Hey, Greg.